be demonstrating how to pour a mold. I'll show you how to pour. Molds come in two parts. Some come in three parts, and some come with a base. You need to make sure that any debris is dust out of your mold on both sides, all parts of your mold. Any small pieces of clay or dust in the mold can be picked up in the slip and create indentations in the piece. So once you clean it, you want to close it up with your rubber bands. In this case, I'm using straps. These are specially made for molds. And the size of the mold will depend on how many straps you use, rubber bands. You always want to make sure it's very tight because the slip will slide out the cracks otherwise. Once you've got this ready, all you do is you pour your slip. I just happen to use a slip in a gallon jug, and you pour it in. What you will do, every mold will have a certain time that you'll want to keep the slip in there before you pour it out. Most of the times I do 18 minutes. Larger pieces I may do 25 minutes. You will decide how you like your pieces poured. I like to pour a little heavier. Once you fire the piece, it will take the water out and you'll make it lighter anyways. So this one I happen to set for 18 minutes. It used to be that you would go by the depth of the slip and you would check the rim, and as the rim built up slip, you knew that was the thickness of the piece. But I find that doesn't work, so I only use time. And you always want to make sure it stays full, because you want a nice full piece. If your slip falls below the rim, then that means that area is going to be thinner and it may collapse on you. So this will sit for 18 minutes. Once it sits, I'll be pouring it out, and it makes the hollow piece. This is the spare. The part that's above where the piece actually begins is called the spare, and it's just excess. This will soak up into the plaster. Depending on the depth of the trim or the spare, you may not even need to refill. You can walk away and not fill in any more slip. Depending on the piece, every piece is different, and you just have to get to know how to do it. I normally like to keep my slip at the rim, unless I have some molds that the spare is actually 4 inches or 5 inches, so you never have to refill once you fill to the top. So then you go back 18 to 20 minutes later and the spare is still full of slip. Every mold has a different time that it will soak up slip. The more you use a mold, the more time it may take or less time. So you can't always go by. Some molds soak up slip really fast, and you could pour the slip in, and within just a couple minutes the slip is soaked up into the plaster. So you've got to make sure you always watch. And again, the rubber bands you buy at ceramic shops or online, they are heavy duty, that stretch pretty tight, because you have to keep your molds tight. If you don't, one, the slip can come out, or two, the slip can come out around the edges inside the piece, and that just creates a mess and extra cleaning for you. The piece will have extra creases, and then you have to clean the mold. So just make sure your molds are tight. And again, slip is just liquid clay. This is low fire slip, so it fires to cone 04, which turns into bisque. And then of course you can paint and glaze your bisque. And we'll talk about that next time. Depending on the piece, I sometimes will let some of the slip stay in. If it has a bottom, it gives it a little thickness on the bottom, especially for items like in your kitchen, doodads for your kitchen, plates. I'll let some slip stay in the bottom just to give it some weight and some strength, since it's something that you would be using. If it's something you're using, I tend to make those a little heavier.